because vaccines, we never profess anything's 100%.
Right.
And so you have you have now 2 doses of measles vaccines, 99% effective, but it's like playing the lottery, right? So you know 1 in 100 isn't a 0% chance. Eventually, if you get exposed enough, the best way to actually not win a bad lottery is not to play, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say people shouldn't have to play that lottery. We shouldn't have groups of unvaccinated people, so we have to play that lottery and hope that the vaccine took. And then, of course, we have children who are too young to get vaccinated, right? So it's measles, it's under a year, there are other ages. And then we have people who can't get vaccinated, right? They're allergic to something in the vaccine, they're being treated with chemotherapy for cancer, transplant children, or other adults, actually. Seniors who, as immunities wane and also they have a chronic condition. And so in order to protect the community, those folks depend on, again, that the disease doesn't get to them. Because, again, they don't want to play that lottery. Why get exposed in the first place? And so certainly I had a personal experience. So unfortunately, I did have a chance to see measles. My professors were wrong. I did have a chance to see a case of see measles. And certainly that had a significant impression. And it reminded me that we can't take vaccines for granted. Now, the other thing that also happened when I was in medical school, in terms of vaccinations, is that anyone remember Haemophilus influenza B? Mm-hmm. Okay, right? It causes meningitis, epiglottitis. You have kids who become down with it, they develop high fever suddenly. Well, that vaccine actually first started coming into widespread use when I was in med school, right? So, and throughout my entire residency, 3 years of pediatric residency, I only saw 1 case of HIB in the intensive care unit. And you never want to be an interesting case. So I got to see an interesting case. But as I was taking care of that child, my professors made note of the fact that it wasn't that long ago, probably less than a decade ago, because before the vaccine, when you would have at least 1 child at all times in intensive care unit with meningitis, epiglottitis, one of those conditions. And the fact that now that my generation only saw 1, I don't know subsequent generations whether they got to see any, was a remarkable change. And certainly the 1 child who had it was very, very ill. So I think, again, it was a reminder about not only in old vaccine, what happens when people don't get vaccinated, but what happens when you can bring a new vaccine. How exciting it is, how great it is. It's actually great news when someone invents a new vaccine because it helps stop terrible diseases. So after going through my training, of course I was aware of when the study came out by Andrew Wakefield that claimed that vaccines cause autism. Watched people come into the clinic saying, I heard on TV, I saw something on a TV show, Oprah, The View, Jenny McCarty usually, but sometimes someone else. And said that vaccines cause autism. And in fact, I think I got interviewed when I was at UC Davis by a TV station about well, what do you think about this study? And one of the things to point out about the study, anyone ever actually read that original study? Okay, some of you, yes. All right. So you have to think about, and I think actually it's interesting what happened because it actually speaks to how seriously we take vaccine safety. Right? This study involved 12. It wasn't some massive study. It involved 12 children. All right, and we're going to take it at face value initially. I want to talk about what really happened later. So it was a study published with 12 children. It was published in Lancet, which is one of the foremost medical journals in the world. The top ones are say, Lancet, Cell, New England Journal, JAMA. So it was one of those. And basically, what they did is they went to those people and they asked them by recollection. So it wasn't prospective. It was like, okay, your child has autism now. When did you think all your symptoms started, and so forth? and they associated it with the measles vaccine. So sort of a recollection type study. And as you know how recollection can sometimes be, right? Something bad happened, oh, so it was 12, just 12 people. And then he also did some procedures. He got some colon biopsies and so forth, and claimed that it showed inflammation of the colon, and he said that that's the mechanism by which we're going to develop autism, right? And so you think about it, if there was truly this vast conspiracy of government officials and pharmaceutical companies and so forth, a small 12-person study of recollection would probably have never gotten published in Lancet, or even a second-tier journal, or a third-tier journal. I mean, it just wouldn't, the quality of the study was very poor. But we take vaccine safety so seriously that when someone says something horrible may happen because of vaccines, we want everyone to know, so that we can go and follow up and say, is this true or not, all right? And so that's what happened. And then people said, let's spend, and I mean literally people spent huge amounts of time, effort, and money trying to replicate that study, because it was 12 people. Let's try to figure out, is this by accident, is this by real, and so forth. And turned out no one could replicate the findings. Studying first hundreds, then thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, nothing. Couldn't find any connection between the two. In the meantime, of course, Wakefield was going around having press conferences and so forth, claiming that he had this great finding, et cetera, and then lots of other people hanging on to that. And in fact, in England, in the United Kingdom at the time, I would point out that the United Kingdom had eliminated measles from the United Kingdom before, which meant there was no endemic cases. If a measles case happened because someone brought it from outside. He frightened people so much about measles vaccine that measles actually is now endemic in the UK. So anyone want to travel to the UK, be sure you're vaccinated, because it's endemic. It doesn't have to be brought from outside. There's people, it just travels around within the country. So the United Kingdom actually eliminated measles before the United States, but then brought it back because of Andrew Wakefield. Now, if vaccines truly cause autism, one could argue whether that was still worth it or not, but autism is a terrible disease. I don't want to make light of autism, it's a serious condition. And so, of course, people want to figure out, well, how did it happen? Does it, and how does it happen if it does? So we can figure out maybe we can make a better vaccine or something like that. But they couldn't replicate his findings. Subsequent to that, an investigative journalist named Brian Dieter started looking into the research and started talking to people, because as people couldn't replicate it, there was greater and greater suspicions that the data was not true. And it turned out that Andrew Wakefield didn't disclose a few things when he submitted his paper. Number one, he didn't disclose the fact that he received about over 600,000 US, well, he received in pounds, but I think translated to over $600,000 US, from an attorney who was wanted to file a lawsuit against the vaccine manufacturer, and was paid to generate a study to provide him data for this lawsuit. The other thing he didn't disclose is that Andrew Wakefield himself, wanting to work both sides, had quote, invented or licensed his own measles vaccine, and had raised $500,000 from investors who he told that, well, we're going to find a way to get rid of the old vaccine, and so people have to use mine, and you're going to make money off of that. The other thing he didn't disclose is those 12 people he got recruited were not children who were randomly obtained, were actually recruited by an attorney specifically because they believed, remember the recollection study? Specifically because they believed that their children got it and that they would then be members of the lawsuit. The other thing he also didn't disclose was that, remember he did some procedures on them, the biopsies? Well, it actually turns out Brian Deere found the actual pathology reports from the hospital, and they did not find inflammation, as he reported in his study. So he faked the data too. And on top of that, he didn't bother to get human subjects review for doing procedures, those types of procedures, on those children. So, he might have gotten consent from the parents, but he didn't send the protocol for human subjects review. So he essentially performed procedures with no benefit to the children, perhaps for parents that they think they're going to get a payday from lawsuit, perhaps for himself, but there was no. So, because of all of that, he had his license revoked, and it's still revoked.